Hello YouTube. In this video I'd like to make an update video on my portable solar generator. That video I made about 2.5 years ago was my first version of the portable solar generator. This is version 3, which I sadly did not make a version. I did not make a video on version 2. But this has a lot of new features and a lot of upgrades since version 1. So my version 1 had a 8.3 amp hour battery, 12 volts, with a watt hour capacity of 100 watt hours. It also had, for the fuses, it had some inline fuses which were kind of messy, and they worked to protect all the wiring, but it was kind of hard to get to them. And with the inverter, this one's actually using the same inverter as my old one, but with the old one, with the old solar generator, I was limited to 120 watts because of my 10 amp fuse that I was using. In my old solar generator, I had a 3 amp charge controller which could handle about 40 watts of solar, and it had a barrel jack for the input, and it did not have any way of measuring the voltage or the battery capacity without taking an external measurement. The old one only had one USB port, and it only had one AC outlet. The wire inside was 16 gauge wire, and it had the cheap Chinese connectors which are kind of lossy and not very efficient at carrying the power. And it did have low voltage protection on the USB and the cigarette lighter, but that limited the USB and the cigarette lighter to a combined 3 amps of current, or 36 watts. So with this new solar generator, it has 4 12 volt 7 amp hour batteries with a combined amp hour capacity of 28 amp hours and a watt hour capacity of about 340 watt hours. So these are the batteries right here, and there's 4 of them, all connected in parallel. And the fuses, there's a fuse box, which is a big improvement over the inline fuses, because this makes it a lot neater. And the fuses just pop right in and out of that box, which has a cover on it. And the inverter, it's actually the same inverter as the last solar generator, but this one, with the upgraded wiring and the switch, I can run the full 300 watts through it. The charge controller on this solar generator is a 20 amp PWM charge controller, which is on a 15 amp fuse with a 15 amp connector, so I can run up to 180 watts of solar power through this controller. And it is programmable. You can set the voltages for the float voltage, the discharge cut in and cut out, and a dawn to dusk timer for the load. And the type of battery, I chose sealed batteries because that's what I have. And the input for the solar generator is a SAE connector. It is a 15 amp connector, so that allows me to put in, sorry, the camera's not focusing, allows me to put in up to 180 watts of solar panels in through this connector. And the relay right here This is a protection device because I don't want my batteries to go below a certain voltage. I can set down the charge controller, but the charge controller can only handle a 10 amp maximum load current. So this relay, it allows me to pull 15 amps through it for the cigarette lighter and the USB, and this will actually, and you can actually set it on here. This controls the relay, and then the relay switches the power. It only requires about 10 milliamps for that relay coil. For the this thing actually has a voltmeter on it, which is controlled by this switch right here. You can turn the voltmeter on, and it shows the voltage. It's at 12.5 volts right now. And the USB ports. These are the USB ports for charging cell phones, tablets, right here. And you can switch them through this switch right here. If I turn that on, you can see the USB ports are active and they are ready to charge a device. The outlet here is just a standard household outlet for outdoor use, 120 volt power. And it also has a 12 volt outlet here, which is weatherproof along with the 120 volt. They're both weatherproof. Every connector on here is weather resistant, and with the lid on this, it sheds water pretty well. You can use it outdoors just as long as it's not in standing water. The wire is 10 gauge for the high current loads like the inverter and the cigarette lighter and directly to the battery, and 16 gauge for the charge controller and the voltmeter and USB socket. So some runtime estimates of this device are for a iPhone 12, which is the newest iPhone of 2020. This thing will charge it 32 times off of its batteries. It will charge an iPad 10.5 times. It will run a 7.5 watt LED for 45 hours. It will power a 32-inch TV, which is a 45 watt TV, for 6 hours. A desktop PC that uses 100 watts will run for 2.5 hours, and a 300 watt electric drill will run for 30 minutes or half an hour off of this device. Now, it is best to limit depth of discharge, so how far you drain your batteries, to 50%. If you're going to do that, then cut all those numbers in half. Also, when you use a higher load, your battery capacity actually decreases. So using lower loads for longer periods of time is better than using a high load for a short period of time. So the price of a unit like this is $315, including a 100 watt solar panel, or about $250 if you include a 25 watt solar panel. And a larger solar panel is recommended if you're going to use this more frequently for like everyday use. If you're only going to use this every once in a while and you just want a small solar panel to keep the batteries topped off, then a 25 watt panel will work just fine. And so some uses of this, some practical uses: you can use this to charge phones, tablets, laptops, portably. You can use it to run lights when the power's out, or fans, or even a small 12 volt refrigerator. When we had a power outage and this was running, people were wondering, why are the lights on in that house? Because we were the only house on the street that had lights on, because I was using my solar generator. So it's great for preparedness. It gives unlimited free renewable energy. You don't have to get gasoline. You can use this for camping, for tent camping. It's not a lightweight device. It's not good for backpacking, but if you want to use it for tent, like car camping, this would be perfect to run some lights and fans and even a small electric heating pad to keep you warm. Or even you could probably use this for trailer camping, as long as you weren't pulling too much power. And you could also use it to run small tools such as hot glue guns, soldering irons, a small orbital sander, a power drill under 300 watts of course, or even a Dremel tool. So that is an update of my solar generator project and how it works and all the components that go into my new 340 watt hour solar generator. If you are interested, I'll leave all the links for the parts in the video description, and hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you in my next video.